The army was not supposed to be visible or to be around any polling unit unless there is a breakdown of law and order and they have been invited by the Inspector General of Police.
That elections are sheltered in Africa is no news. But in Nigeria, it comes with consequences.
Against the will of one man.
Consequences that have toggled the nation's politics and may shape how Nigeria elects.
This is the year of PGP.
The momentum gathers.
When we promise, we deliver.
The fireworks is unending.
We did it and continue to do it.
55 years this year, and in her fourth republic, this is Nigeria's 5th general elections. All the action, all the news, the updates, and the news behind the news we will bring to you live from the field and in the studio on Core TV News as Nigeria elects.
Initially, it was a dream for the APC. This morning, it became a reality officially when the APC presidential candidate Muhammadu Buhari was declared winner of the 2015 presidential election. Joining me to discuss all this update is a broadcast journalist, BOLA ONANUGA. Good morning and thank you for finding time to join us today.
Thank you very much.
How exactly do you feel right now aftermath the historic 2015 general elections?
Well, I think I said it in this station and several other stations where I have been called to look at the situations preceding the election, that there will be crisis, there will be violence, there will be this, and I kept reminding people that Nigeria is a God country. We've gone through the situation whereby there will be crisis over one person's problem or two persons' issue. And I said there will be no crisis over this 2015 election. And that Nigeria will go through it, just like they went through June 12th.
That's right.
They went through the death of Abacha and went through the death of MKO. And nobody died for any person. Because you realize that politicians are one and the same everywhere. They will finish, their children will not be on the field to come and fight. So why do you have to kill yourself? And I think the social media did a lot in this area by telling Nigerians that, look, these people's children are schooling in the United States, they are schooling in this, they are married to that, they are did that. And so nobody wants to perish because of any politician's ambition. But be that as it may, INEC did a very good job without helping anybody to pump his neck. I think Jega has done well. He did it with confidence and with courage. And despite everything that people were speaking from all sorts of places, both AP, even APC themselves, they don't even believe in Jega. Even PDP didn't believe in Jega. They didn't believe in INEC. They thought there will be rigging, But one good thing was the introduction of the card reader, which changed the surface of Nigerian politics. And the issue of that you want to rig, you don't want to rig, does not arise anymore. A card reader has come to stay, no problem anymore. We're going to be moving on from this moment, and I think it's good for Nigerian politics.
Have you been able to identify the factors that were responsible for the PDP losing at the center? It's the first time an incumbent president will lose elections in Nigeria.
Well, you are looking at Nigeria, you are not looking at the universal situation. Nigeria is just one case where several incumbents are lost in the past, in other parts of the world. So there is nothing big about President Jonathan losing. The only good thing is that for the very first time, we're having a very good loser.
Okay.
He congratulated Buhari yesterday, which tells him that he respects the rule of law.
That's right.
In the past, during the time of all the other predecessors of his, they will not congratulate the other person. They will be finding a way not to hand over. This is a very good and wonderful experiment that we're going through. And I think it is good for this country. It is good for Buhari. It is good for all the other players. We are learning from this situation. And it shows that our democracy is getting matured. And I think that's good for us. So I don't see anything spectacular about it. It's just that you need to accept whatever you want to accept and reject what you have to reject.
I see.
He knew, President Jonathan knew before the election that he would lose. He was only after River State, himself and the wife, they were out to crush River State, and they did crush it. he was not particular about Nigeria. They just want to show Amechi that, look, whatever you want to become, it won't be in this state. I mean, and they did it. They were not particular about Nigeria.
So you agree that the eventual result in Rivers isn't really a reflection of the will of the people there?
Oh, it is the will of Nigerians. It is the will of Nigerians. You cannot change it. There was no rigging, there was no violence, and it was free and fair.
But how realistic was that to state under the opposition, and of course the governor being the Director General of the APC Presidential Campaign Organization, had only 60-something thousand votes?
Well, that is
the PDP had over 1 million.
That is the way he has. Let me tell you, in politics, it's just like a home. You should not take side with your kids. He took side, and he doesn't need to take. He didn't need to take the position he took. That's Amechi. And the president could be wrong, go. The wife could also be very wrong in their attitude to governance.
Okay.
But that notwithstanding, you are children of the same father from South. It's not for you to begin to fight the president. You are just a governor among 36 governors. You don't need all this. These are things that you could have sorted out. You could cross to another party. It doesn't matter. But you don't begin to talk to the president as if you are talking to your house boy or house girl. No.
Let's look at the factors that really impacted on the pattern with which Nigerians voted over the weekend. There are some who are divided between tribal and religious sentiments as against the actual change in the leadership of the country.
No, as of this point, I'm not sure that it is a change that came to bear on the election. My own personal view was that there were sentiments along the line. Since 1999, we had always voted along sympathetic line. It is the same sympathy that brought BUHARI. It's not as if there was any program. I mean, how can a president come to tell you that he will make Naira at par with dollar? Does that make any sense? It's not. It can't make any sense. The yen to the dollar is a lot of gap. Yet, one of the greatest manufacturing countries in the world is Japan. Their currency is yen. So how can somebody come and tell you in 21st century that he wants to make Naira? So there was no policy on ground. It's pure sentiment. People wanted change because they are fed up with PDP government.
But do you see this new administration bringing the change, especially in key areas of security, power, and of course the economy, which has been their strong points during the electionary process?
Yes, they don't have a choice. Nigerians are more awake today. People will question them. People will hold them accountable. You are coming to rule, fine, you have won, but Nigerians will ask questions. The social media will ask questions because the social media were more important in the equation that led to BUHARI's emergence. Yes, a retired general, this and that, he has his own offenses, which he has yet to apologize to Nigerians. I pray that during his swearing in or in his swearing in message, he will apologize to Nigerian journalists for jailing some of them. He will apologize to the family of the 3 Nigerians that he killed with retrogressive laws. I mean, I expect him to do that because he cannot be a president in uniform and come and be a president in civilian garb. Now, it's the time for him to now display who he is. And I pray that he will have the courage to admit his successes and admit his failures in the past. Anybody will have done what he did.
You know, the Jonathan administration have been talking about some level of patience on the part of the people. For instance, in the power sector, they've been saying it's not enough to privatize the power sector. It's also necessary that we give them some time to gather some capital and to build up capacity. Do you think that Nigerians would have enough patience, or perhaps do you foresee the APC making a magical change in a matter of days in office?
Well, APC is part of the privatization process. Tinubu owns one of the what do they call it, Jelco or whatever, and I don't see any miracle happening overnight. It's a process, and they will get there. I foresee a situation that they will quick step. They will quick step the process. Okay. Nigerians want power. They want light. So nobody is going to wait on end for a slow process. Nobody will. Okay. And I'm sure that APC will do better because Nigerians will support this government.
Okay.
And home and abroad, they will support them and they will give them all they require to move on. So I don't see why within the next 1 year, power stabilization will not be part of the success of this government. I foresee. Even if that is the only thing they did, Jonathan got it wrong. He was talking about several agendas at the same time. Whereas he's supposed to focus on one. The only agenda that Obasanjo did was GSM. Even though it's been planned by another government, but he made it work. This time, these people should just make power to work in the first 1 year of the administration so that they can keep it. I mean, that's the good thing about it. And I'm sure that Buhari doesn't have a...
Is that realistically possible? No problem with your phone, you can always put the health. But is that really realistic to have power supply constant in a matter of a year, given the experience Nigerians have had in the past?
No, it's possible within 1 year. It's possible if you have a very good regulator who are ready to work and go all out to get things done. Okay. The one that is not performing, you give him his money and you bring in those who can perform. The other man, the former minister for power, would have gotten it right, but because of the power surrounding Jonathan, they didn't allow the guy to operate. So they had to force him to be removed from the cabinet. I mean, these are the kind of things that I think Buhari will not allow. He will want performers to do the job for him. I mean, I've forgotten the name of the Igbo man who was the minister for power. I mean, he did everything about privatization, but fortunately, he was also caught in the web that one of his company was among the bidders for one of the Gencos. So it became a problem. So he was forced to resign. But that notwithstanding, I believe that Buhari has the discipline. Even though those who are around him, they may not be that disciplined, but he's a very disciplined man, and I want to believe that he will do the right thing.
Let's look at the integrity of the process for this election. How do you perceive people's perception of this election relative to the 1993 election in Nigeria?
93?
Yes. The Moshood Abiola widely acclaimed freest and fairest election in Nigeria's history. Do you see this superseding and overtaking that historic front?
Well, comparatively, the two were same. Jonathan has every reason to change the issue of Nigeria yesterday. He has everything to disrupt the country. But yesterday, he came all out to show the world that he is indeed a statesman, not a president. Yesterday, he became elevated beyond the level of a normal president in an African country. he congratulated the other man before the election results were announced. Just seeing the handwriting on the wall. That's a good one for a sitting president. It has never happened in the history of this country. And I want to congratulate him even in retirement. He will be respected and regarded.
Unlike the position of the president, however, the People's Democratic Party is saying that it will challenge the outcome of the March 28 presidential election. But let's go to Lagos. Let me quickly show you what the PDP in Lagos is saying. MCR PDP on election. Of course, the Lagos PDP is now calling for the cancellation of the results recorded in Lagos. Oluwaseyi Adegoke has details of that report.
Where we have won a clear and verifiable victory, the presiding INEC officials openly colluded with the APC to sabotage and deny PDP candidates the desired victory. Among the local government areas where anomalies were recorded are Badagry, Ekpe, Etiosa, Apapa, Shomolu, and Alimosho local government areas.
Ballot boxes were not accounted for in some polling booths.
In Lagos Island, for example, 10,000 votes were added to the overall votes recorded by APC. We have not claimed that we won in Lagos Island, but the results were manipulated and 10,000 additional votes were added. Ballot boxes were not accounted for in some polling booths, and results were declared. A lot of voters were denied the opportunity to vote, and voting was unnecessarily delayed to allow for manipulation of results.
For Nigeria's democracy to survive, Lagos PDP seems to have a solution.
For our nation to take our proper place in the country.
It's amazing, however, that Lagos, which happens to be the national headquarters for the APC, could only get some 700,000 plus votes, which was just a bit about 100,000 more than the People's Democratic Party. It's counter-amazing, or more amazing, so to speak, that the PDP is even claiming that there were irregularities, and that's why the election result turned out that way. What are your thoughts along this line?
You see, an average Lagosian is a manipulator, whether APC or PDP. They are both in the same camp. One, the result of the election was done by the card readers. So you won't just leave the card reader machine and go and forge another figure of 10,000. But because we are bad losers, and because of the money that was pumped into Lagos by the party, they just wanted to justify it. That's why they are making all this noise. They have no reason to be raising issues over a result. If it has been a local government election, Igbo people won in Lagos.
We are the first non-indigent to win the federal constituency.
Four won to the House of Reps in Lagos. That tells you that we are getting mature. Labour Party won, 3 others won from PDP, and they're all Igbos. There's nothing bad in it. Because Lagos is not a Lagosian place. Lagos is for Lagos people. Everybody comes out to pay tax. Everybody comes out to work and to do all sorts of things. So you can't come and claim that you are a Lagosian. Lagosian will not, they will not come and fight you that you are carrying ballot boxes for election or whatever, or taking position. The point I am trying to raise was that what happened in Lagos was actually what ought to happen. Instead of them to focus on the next election, which will produce a governor, they are still discussing about the past.
We can easily assume what will happen in Northwest, given the landslide victory that the APC garnered at the presidential poll. But for the Southwest, do you see a replication of what happened at the presidential election for the gubernatorial and the state houses of assembly?
No, there will be shocks during the gubernatorial. There will be shocks and shocks and shocks. You see, people, voting pattern had always been everywhere in the world along party line. individual, that is the candidate, and then social activity, and the fourth one is ability and capacity to mobilize. What happened in Southwest, what happened in Northwest was pure mobilization. They took it very seriously. Both Northeast and Northwest, they took it very seriously. Here in Lagos, we are so like a dazzler. In fact, we didn't even believe in the system until very late. That's why many people didn't have their PVC. A person like me, I don't have a PVC. So when they said I belong to a zero center, which means that the hub which we registered crashed. So we have to come and register again. I just didn't bother anymore because I have too many things to think since I'm not going to be paid. So I didn't bother. But that's the way it is with many other Nigerians along this axis. So you will not see my own position as a position of many Nigerians. Southwesterner, they are not the same thing as Northwesterner. In Northwest, people will go and vote. In Lagos, there are too many activities. Banks will not release their staff to go and collect BFC, so obviously they will not even vote. Corporate Nigeria will not release their staff. If Fashola likes, he can close Secretariat. It's a one-man business. You can close the Secretariat and say that they should go looking for their PVC. But corporate Nigeria will not close the office and say that somebody should go and be looking for PVC. What is PVC to them? What does it mean to them? So they won't go.
I'm afraid we have to wrap up the show right now. BOLA ONANUGA, veteran journalist, thank you very much for finding time to join us today.
My pleasure.
And we hope that subsequently we'll also highlight the way forward for the new administration, as we also remind them of all of their electioneering
their
promises.
manifestos.
Their manifesto, especially security, security, economy, as well as the power sector.
We'll be there.
In the country. Thank you very much for joining us today. Well, the celebration is ongoing. Just got a picture on one of the social media platforms. There's a cow here painted in APC color, and then everybody seems to be jubilating. We hope that you can do that with lots of responsibility and caution. And as a matter of fact, earlier we also established that the APC's victory is an honeymoon, is a wedding that wouldn't have an honeymoon because there's lots more to do than celebrating at this time, as Nigerians cannot wait for the real change. Bearing in mind also that April 11th will be another time for Nigerians to go out to elect governors and members at the respective state houses of assembly. We hope that INEC would have improved on the card readers at that time, that we would have a smoother electioneering process. I am Nifemi Oguntoye. That wraps it on Call Digest today. Thank you very much for being there. Stick with us.
The army was not supposed to be visible or to be around any polling unit unless there is a breakdown of law and order and they have been invited by the Inspector General of Police.
That elections are sheltered in Africa is no news. But in Nigeria, it comes with consequences.
Against the will of one man.
Consequences that have toggled the nation's politics and may shape how Nigeria elects.
This is the year of PDP.
The momentum gathers.
When we promise, we deliver.
The fireworks is unending.
We did it and continue to do it.
55 years this year, and in her fourth republic, this is Nigeria's 5th general elections. All the action, all the news, the updates, and the news behind the news we will bring to you live from the field and in the studio on Core TV News as Nigeria elects.